Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm talking about 5 things that I would have changed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Most of them are just minor things. They could have easily been dropped on the cutting room floor, and I understand that there are hundreds of people that go into this production to make this cinematic universe happen, but I had just been collecting things that had been sitting in the back of my mind for like 2 or 3 years that I really wish would have been put on screen or elaborated on in the movies. So without further ado, let's get started with Captain Marvel. So as you know, I love Captain Marvel. She is my favorite Marvel character. I cosplay her. She is actually what got me into cosplaying in the first place. But I will admit that Captain Marvel movie was not the best. I would love to blame it on the Green Lantern movie that we got, but even Deadpool could not retcon that travesty. So unfortunately the writers had to take Captain Marvel, kind of twist it on its head, and it didn't get the story it deserved, I feel like. But there's one thing that could have made it just a little bit better, and that is Carol's brother. So in the scenes where we see Carol on a go-kart, there is a boy who is a little bit older than her who is yelling at her to slow down. When I first saw that, I thought, oh, that's her older brother, or maybe just maybe a cousin. But then we see her later in the movie when Mariah's daughter tells her that it was just Carol and her dad, and then Mariah and her daughter were their chosen family, confirming that she did not have a brother. I felt like I was kind of cheated the first time I saw it because I was expecting that little boy to be related to her. I think that would have been a great thing just to add, to give her a brother. This is why. My brother was 10 years older than me, and he had cousins around the same age as him. I remember being 7 years old when they were seniors in high school. They were all super close. They all went to the same school, and they would riff off each other all the time. They were super funny, and from a young age, I learned that if you are funny and charismatic, people are going to like you more. They're going to pay attention to you. You'll get validation by their laughs. So at a very young age, I would be sitting around the kitchen table and I'd make a joke and everyone would laugh, and I just feel a part of the team. I felt gratification by making people laugh because that's what my brother and my older cousins did. This could have easily played into Carol's storyline. If she had an older brother, she could probably look at him and think of him as someone that she wants to aspire to. If she thinks he's cool, as I did my older brother, she might have been more willing to run with the boys. Maybe her brother joined the military. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he died in the military. Maybe he didn't. It doesn't matter. We're not gonna fridge men in 2020. But her desire to keep up with her big brother and keep up with his friends maybe would have pushed her into joining the Air Force, instead of the storyline that we got, which is, I just want to be like the boys because that's just my storyline. I wrote this before the unexpected death of Chadwick Boseman and before Letitia Wright was promised to become the new Black Panther, but let me see if I can get this right so no fanboys come at me in the comments. The last time we saw Shuri was she got blasted by a baddie and she fell off like something in her lab. She just kind of like rolled off of this platform. That's the last time we saw her. In the trailer, there was a little Easter egg with Shuri's picture and Peter Parker's picture of like people who are still missing. It's not until the end of Endgame where we see Shuri come out with Black Panther and not Lupita, Michonne from Walking Dead. Fuck. Okoye! I should have known. Actually, one of my D&D characters that are like primarily like an NPC connected to someone else, I actually like based her accent and her mannerisms off of Okoye, so I can't believe I forgot that name. So Shuri, Black Panther, and Okoye come out, and that's like the first time we see like Shuri definitely got snapped. But hear me out. What if when Dr. Banner is looking at the people who are still missing out of the Avengers lineup, we see Shuri and we just assume that she's missing? 5 years goes by, Chris Evans is doing his thing, Robert Downey Jr., he's having a family, composting, but then we find deep in Africa, in Wakanda, Shuri has taken up the mantle of Black Panther. She has risen to the throne, and this is the reason why. Because we know those special fruits, you know, that make people Black Panther, they got destroyed by Killmonger. But, you know, what if Shuri was like super smart and like had maybe access to some Stark Tech inspired gadgets? She could basically become an Iron Man version of Black Panther. I feel like she could have easily made the suit to be so technically advanced that she could easily become the equivalent to Black Panther in the suit with like Stark technology and vibranium and like med science. Like she does not have to shoot up with Black Panther serum because she has her brain. So I really wish we would have had like 5 years of Shuri being Black Panther. And then once Chadwick comes back, I keep calling these people like either by their actors' names or like, I sorry. So when the King of Wakanda returns, Shuri could stay on the throne in Wakanda and be Wakanda's Black Panther and protect Wakanda, their country, the continent, whatever. Do like small business stuff while running the country. While Chadwick can go hop on over to the Avengers boat and he can go to space with them and like put an Infinity Stone in his sock drawer like Iron Man did. You know, he can do whatever he wants because he doesn't have to have that responsibility. And then he can marry Lupita and just live a happy superhero life. So Ant-Man, we can all agree that we did not want to see this. Most of my friends who are Marvel fans either saw it once or had not seen it at all. Paul Rudd did a great job. He's the only thing that made this movie, in my opinion. However, I really think that they put the Wasp on a shelf and just left her for the next movie. When this movie came out, I was watching Collider like every single day. Back when Collider was good before they got Jeremy Jahns. I'm sorry. They also still had John Schnepp. Get out of here! So I think what would have made Ant-Man amazing is word of mouth. So keeping the marketing completely the same, it's an Ant-Man movie. He's gonna be flying around and you know, it's gonna be a heist movie. But what they would have saved to let the fans promote the movie was a surprise twist where maybe approaching the third act, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, he has his back up against the wall. Hank Pym is looking to his daughter and he's like, we're gonna call in you. You're our last saving grace. And maybe all the audience will be like, whoa, what's gonna happen? Whoa, whoa. Suddenly, we get Wasp. She comes out of nowhere. She like throws hands with Ant-Man and she's like, my dad didn't want me to do this. I want to take up my mom's mantle. Like, I have been training for this, but like maybe because of her namesake, she couldn't do what Paul Rudd was doing. Maybe, I mean, there could have been options to be written in for her as to like, well, why didn't Hank just have her daughter do this thing that he hired, you know, or had like Paul Rudd doing? Well, here, options, writers, do something. The audience would have minds have been blah. If they are familiar with any sort of like Marvel lore, their minds would have been blown. People would be jumping onto YouTube to do their movie review of it, and they'll say, guys, if you're gonna see this movie, you're gonna love the beginning of the third act because she's not gonna be in any promotional material. Would have not only just like taken that female Avenger off the shelf, they would have like slammed it on the table and been like, what's up? You thought this was an Ant-Man movie? Bam, here's Wasp being a badass, and then we wouldn't have to get that weird post-credit scene of like, ooh, you better stick around and see the sequel because then we'll get Wasp. Like, no! Put Wasp in Ant-Man, the first movie. Thank you. Jumping on that train, the fourth item I would have loved to see in Avengers Infinity War was a surprise cameo by Carol. It was confirmed by like everyone and their dog that Carol was not going to be in that movie. But I was expecting the team to be hanging out on that planet and then just suddenly Carol's boots would have like landed on the ground and we would have panned up and she would have been like, hey guys, I was in the neighborhood. What's up? Maybe she would have had Nova with because it's been like a couple decades. Let's just get the whole family together. It would work, like with some rewriting, but I think because Captain Marvel came out in March and then Avengers Endgame came out the end of April, and I think that would have reminded people to go see Captain Marvel. Number 5, something I would have loved to see in Avengers Infinity War would have been more characters that were teased. It has been 5 years. You cannot tell me that Adam or Nova are not hanging out. Kevin Feige stated last year after Infinity War that they're gonna have Miss Marvel and She-Hulk as TV shows, and he said that you're gonna have to watch the TV shows in order to know what is going on in the MCU. In comparison with the Defenders or Daredevil or the Punisher, where you do not have to watch any of that to know what's going on in the MCU. I think it's a great play as far as Marvel goes, because then you have to pay subscriptions to watch their service to know what's going on in the next Iron Man 10 movie. However, I would have preferred for them to have that continuity in the first place. If not, we're not going to have that continuity. At least during Endgame, we would have seen Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Daredevil step out of one of the portals in new costumes we've never seen before. I would have shit my pants. I had never seen more than one episode of any of those shows, and I would have pooped. And I don't care if we never saw them again. There's actually this meme of like all of the defenders like hanging out. They're like, all right, any moment now, because they're waiting to like get bounced to this fight. Anyway, those are the 5 things I would have changed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Go ahead and tear each other apart in the comments. But I prefer to keep it civil because I like to hear other ideas, and I love fan theories, and I love like what if scenarios. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks. Bye.